You're smart. You went to college. You have a decent job. You're not out here buying designer everything or living beyond your means like those people on Instagram. You actually care about money. You read articles. You've downloaded budgeting apps. You tell yourself you're being responsible. And yet, here you are, another year older. Still living paycheck to paycheck, or close to it. Still stressed about money. Still wondering why, with all your intelligence and education, you can't seem to get ahead financially. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Being smart doesn't make you good with money. In fact, being smart often makes you worse with money in very specific, very sneaky ways. And that's what we need to talk about today. Because the habits keeping you broke aren't the obvious ones. You're not buying a new car every year. You're not gambling your savings away. You're doing things that feel completely reasonable, completely justified, completely normal. And that's exactly the problem. Let me paint you a picture. You make somewhere between $50,000 and $90,000 a year, maybe more. You're educated. You work hard. You save a little bit here and there. You have a 401k that you contribute to, sort of. You don't think of yourself as financially irresponsible. When you spend money, you can usually justify it. You deserve that nice dinner. You need those subscriptions. That purchase was on sale. You work hard, so you should enjoy your money, right? But if someone asked you right now, how much money did you spend last month? You probably couldn't tell them within $500, maybe not even within $1,000. And that gap? That uncertainty? That's where your financial future is disappearing. Look, the average American household making $70,000 a year has less than $5,000 in savings. Think about that. An entire year's salary, and most people couldn't handle a single decent emergency without going into debt. This isn't happening because people are stupid. It's happening because smart people have silent money habits they don't even see. Let's talk about the first one. You are brilliant at finding the best deal on small purchases. You'll spend 20 minutes comparing prices on a $40 item. You'll drive across town to save $3 on groceries. You clip coupons. You wait for sales. You feel genuinely proud when you save 15% on something. Meanwhile, you're hemorrhaging money on the big stuff, and you don't even notice. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're really careful about coffee. You make it at home most days. You're saving maybe $5 a day compared to buying it out. That's around $1,500 a year. Genuinely good decision. You should feel good about that. But you're also paying $700 more than you need to on car insurance because you haven't shopped around in 4 years. You're paying $250 a month for a car that sits in a parking lot 10 hours a day because you needed the upgraded model. You're renting an apartment that costs $300 more per month than you could find somewhere 15 minutes further from downtown because you wanted the nicer area. Do the math with me here. That's $8,400 on the car insurance over 4 years. That's $3,000 a year on the car upgrade you didn't need. That's $3,600 a year on location preference. You're bleeding $15,000 a year on big decisions you made once and never questioned again. But you're so proud of yourself for saving $1,500 on coffee that you never look at the real leaks. This is what smart people do. We optimize micro decisions because they're visible and frequent. We completely ignore macro decisions because they're invisible and infrequent. We'd rather feel smart about saving $5 today than actually be smart by saving $5,000 this year. Now here's the second thing you're doing. You work hard. I know you do. You're putting in the hours. You're stressed. You're tired. You're busy all the time. And because you're working so hard, you've convinced yourself you're doing everything right with money. The logic goes like this. I'm working this hard, so obviously I'm making progress financially. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Being busy is not the same as building wealth. Working hard at a job that pays you $70,000 a year is not the same as working smart toward financial independence. You could work 60 hours a week for the next 10 years and still be broke if those 60 hours aren't connected to income growth, skill development, or wealth building. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you worked an extra hour specifically to increase your income? Not just working late because your boss asked. Not just staying busy, but actually investing time in something that would raise your earning power, learning a high-value skill, building a side income stream, negotiating your salary, switching to a higher-paying position? For most people, the answer is never. Or years ago. We're so busy being busy that we never invest time in the things that actually change our financial trajectory. And then we wonder why we're stuck. The average person will earn about $2 million in their lifetime. But small changes in your hourly value compound massively. If you're making $35 an hour and you spend 200 hours over a year learning a skill that bumps you to $45 an hour, that's a $10 per hour raise. Over a 40-hour work week, that's $20,000 more per year. Over 10 years, that's $200,000. Over a career, we're talking $500,000 or more. But you're too busy working to invest in working better. The third habit is insidious. You're sitting in your apartment right now or your house, surrounded by things you pay for every single month. And if I asked you, do you need all this? You'd probably say yes. But let me challenge that. 10 years ago, did you need a $15 streaming service? No, you watched cable or DVDs. 5 years ago, did you need grocery delivery? No, you went to the store. 3 years ago, did you need a gym membership, a meditation app subscription, and cloud storage for your photos? Probably not. But now you can't imagine life without them. This is lifestyle normalization. It's how your expenses silently creep up to match your income no matter how much you make. Every new convenience, every new service, every new small monthly charge becomes invisible. It gets absorbed into your sense of normal. The average American now has 4 to 6 subscription services. That's anywhere from $50 to $150 a month, $1,800 a year. That doesn't sound like much, right? But remember, we're talking about the difference between someone who retires comfortably and someone who's broke at 65. $1,800 a year, invested with a 7% return, becomes $93,000 over 30 years. You're not just paying for Netflix. You're paying for Netflix instead of a comfortable retirement. And it's not just subscriptions. It's the slow upgrade of everything. You used to eat out twice a month. Now it's twice a week, and you don't even think about it because everyone does it. You used to buy a new phone every 3 years. Now it's every year because the new one is so much better. You used to be fine with a small apartment. Now you need more space, a better neighborhood, an extra bedroom just in case. Every upgrade feels reasonable in the moment, but you're running on a treadmill where your expenses rise to meet your income, and you never actually get ahead. Here's another one that's going to hit close to home. You work hard. You're stressed. You deserve something nice. I'm not here to tell you that you don't. But let me ask you this. How often do you reward yourself? Because if the answer is a few times a week, or whenever I've had a hard day, or pretty regularly, then you're not rewarding yourself. You're emotionally spending. And there's a huge difference. A reward is occasional. It's special. It's tied to a real accomplishment. Emotional spending is a coping mechanism. It's how you deal with stress, boredom, frustration, or exhaustion. And smart people are really, really good at convincing themselves that emotional spending is actually reward spending. Here's how it sounds in your head. I worked a 10-hour day. I deserve this dinner out. I've been so stressed this week, I should treat myself to those shoes. I hit my deadline, so I'm going to buy that thing I've been looking at. But when you actually track it, you're rewarding yourself 3, 4, 5 times a week. That's not a reward, that's a habit, and it's expensive. Let's say you spend $30 twice a week on comfort purchases, takeout, impulse buys, little treats. That's $60 a week. That's $240 a month. That's $2,880 a year. And here's the worst part. It doesn't even make you happier. Research shows that frequent small rewards provide less satisfaction than rare big ones. You're spending yourself into a hole and not even getting the emotional payoff you think you're getting. The reason smart people fall into this trap is because we're good at rationalization. We can build an airtight logical case for any purchase. It's an investment in my mental health. I need to decompress somehow. It's not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. All of that might be true. But if you can justify every purchase, you'll justify yourself right into financial stress. Now let me ask you a question. If I gave you a $1,000 bonus at work, would you treat that money the same way you treat your regular paycheck? Be honest, you wouldn't. You'd probably save some of your regular income, or at least try to. But that bonus? That's extra. That's free money. You'd spend it on something fun, something you've been wanting, something special. This is called mental accounting, and it's one of the sneakiest ways smart people stay broke. We treat money differently depending on where it came from, even though money is money. Tax refund? That's fun money. Regular paycheck? That's bill money. Gift money? Definitely spending that. Work bonus? Treat yourself time. But it's all the same money. $1 from your tax refund has the exact same value as $1 from your paycheck. Yet we treat them completely differently. And that difference costs us. Here's another version of this. You have $100 left over at the end of the month. Do you save it? Or do you think, well, I budgeted pretty well this month, so I can spend this? Most people spend it, because in their mental accounting system, money that's left over is bonus money, even though it's literally savings. You just talked yourself out of building wealth because of how you categorize the money in your head. Or, here is one more. You're deciding whether to buy something for $60. If you have $60 in your checking account, you might think, I can't afford this right now. But if you have $6,000 in your checking account, you think, $60 is nothing. Same $60. Same purchase. Different decision based purely on context. That's mental accounting, and it tricks you into spending more than you should. The next one's going to sting a little, but stay with me. You think your income is your financial success metric. If you make $70,000, you think you're doing better than someone who makes $50,000. And on paper, you are. But in reality, you might be in worse shape. Because it's not what you make. It's what you keep. I know someone who makes $60,000 a year and has a net worth of $200,000. I know someone else who makes $120,000 a year and has a net worth of negative $40,000. Who's actually doing better financially? The person making half as much. Smart people fall into this trap constantly because we tie our identity to our income. We think, I make good money, so I must be good with money. But you can make great money and be broke. You can make great money and be in debt. You can make great money and have nothing to show for it. What matters is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is your wealth. Everything else is just your lifestyle. If you make $80,000 and spend $75,000, you're building wealth at $5,000 a year. If you make $60,000 and spend $50,000, you're building wealth at $10,000 a year. The person making less is getting richer faster. But we don't think this way. We think more income equals more wealth automatically. So we focus all our energy on earning more and zero energy on keeping more. And then we wonder why raises never seem to change our financial situation. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I see some of myself in this. So what? Knowing is half the battle, right? Wrong. Here's the most dangerous trap of all, thinking that awareness equals change. You can know all of this and still do nothing. In fact, smart people are especially good at this. We learn about a problem, we understand the problem, we nod along and agree with the problem, and then we do absolutely nothing differently. Why? Because knowing what to do is easy. Actually doing it is hard. Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort, and changing your money habits is uncomfortable. It means saying no to things you want. It means facing the reality of your situation. It means admitting you've been doing it wrong. It means short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, and your brain hates that trade. So what happens? You watch this video, you feel motivated for about 6 hours, and then tomorrow you're back to your regular habits. Because your environment hasn't changed. Your defaults haven't changed. Your automatic behaviors haven't changed. Let me give you a hard truth. Most people who watch this video will do nothing. They'll agree with everything I've said. They'll recognize themselves in these habits. And they'll change absolutely nothing about their life. Don't be most people. Here's what real change looks like. Not motivation, not awareness, actual behavior change. First, track everything for 30 days. Not a budget, not a plan. Just write down every single dollar you spend for 1 month. Don't change your behavior. Just observe it, because you cannot fix what you cannot see. Second, kill one big leak, not 10 small ones. One big one. Find the largest unnecessary expense in your life and eliminate it completely. Maybe it's your car payment. Maybe it's where you live. Maybe it's how often you eat out. Find the one thing bleeding you dry and stop it. Third, automate one wealth-building behavior. Not try to save more. Automate it. Set up an automatic transfer of 10% of every paycheck to a separate savings account you don't touch. Make it happen before you can think about it, before you can rationalize it away. Fourth, ask yourself one question before every non-essential purchase. Is this worth more to me than my future freedom? Not, can I afford it? Not, is it on sale? Not, do I deserve it? But, is this purchase worth delaying my financial independence? Most of the time the answer will be no, and that's fine. That's the point. And fifth, stop comparing your financial situation to your income. Start comparing it to your net worth. Every month, calculate what you own minus what you owe. That number going up? You're winning. That number going down or staying the same? You're losing, no matter how much you make. Look, I'm not here to make you feel guilty. Guilt is useless. What I want you to feel is clarity. You are smart enough to build wealth. You are disciplined enough to change your habits. You are capable of having a completely different financial life 5 years from now. but only if you stop lying to yourself about your money. Only if you stop confusing being busy with being productive. Stop confusing good income with good wealth. Stop confusing occasional rewards with constant emotional spending. The habits keeping you broke aren't dramatic. They're silent. They're normal. They're things everyone around you is doing, which is exactly why they're so dangerous. Most people will die broke, not because they made terrible decisions, but because they made 10,000 small, reasonable decisions that added up to a broke life. You don't have to be most people. Starting today, you can be someone who sees the invisible, who questions the normal, who builds wealth quietly while everyone else stays busy. You're smart enough to understand this. Now be smart enough to actually do something about it. If this video made you uncomfortable, that's a good thing. Discomfort means you're seeing something you've been avoiding, and seeing it is the first step to changing it. The question is, what are you going to do next?